Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Pray First, a conversation we have Monday through Friday right here on the Pastor Doug page. Hashtag live if you're joining us during the 7 o'clock hour on this Thursday, March the 9th. Hashtag recorded if you're joining at any other time. Hashtag shared if you'll consider putting this post out on your pages or maybe sharing the Pastor Doug page. So if your friends or family like or follow that page, they might get notifications when we go live. Hit the hearts, hit the lights, go crazy on those. Let all of our first-time guests know that you are glad they are here. And I just want you to know something. I'm glad that you're here. I can't believe how many different households show up and we get to talk about faith and life and family on Pray First Monday through Friday. So I want you to know that I appreciate you and thank you so much for doing that and being with me. I don't look at this as me coming and being just me coming and being with you. I look at it like you're coming and being with me, and that just blows me away that you would do that at 7 o'clock in the morning. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, Randy Underwood. Good morning, Tasha. Good morning, Stevie. Good morning, David. Good morning, Bonnie. Good morning, Brenda. Good morning, Dustin. Good morning, Ann Pritchard. Good morning, everybody. Again, thank you so much for coming and being with me. It's not just me coming and being with you. It's you coming and being with me. It's interactive. I get to see you. I know that you're there. So if you're here, just kind of say hi or hashtag yep. Good morning, Melissa and Joanne and Sharon and Corrine and Barbie and Mike Davis. Good morning, everybody. We're going to talk about messy people today. I'm going to take a sip of this. Like that's none of my business. Good morning, Neil. And I'm not going to talk about anybody specifically. Good morning, Heather Rippey. Good morning, Sharon Worsham. Good morning, Barbie and Daryl and Audra. We're going to talk about messy folks. Good morning, Kathy Pilkington, the mayor of South Haven. Vicky Smith, hi there. Yeah, we're going to talk about messy people. Have you ever noticed? Good morning, Dana Bell Bradley Hoover, my friend down in Florida. Good morning, everybody. Have you ever noticed how messed up people are? Whew. This hashtag yep. Have you ever noticed how messy Stacy Matlock is? I saw you write that, so I had to go there. I mean, people are a few fries short of a Happy Meal, man. People, I don't want to, belabor the idea, but people are messy. And not if you just hang out, your little people group and you never get outside of your little bubble, but you get outside of your bubble where everybody doesn't agree with you or have the same, kind of experience in life as you, and people are messed up. But here's the deal. Here's the deal about people. We're going to talk about humanity today. People need people. People need people. No matter how messy we are, people need people. God, in His sovereignty, God in His omniscience, created us to need one another. I know, how many of you have ever felt like you could be happy alone in the woods with a rocking chair, maybe a fishing pole, a couple dogs, a chicken, and you'd be okay? I thought that too. But have you ever noticed people who kind of go away from everybody and then come back into town every once in a while and they don't know how to interact with each other? They don't know how to they don't know social graces. They don't know how to interact. God made us to need each other. Of all the things that God's created, Neil, I know, man. I know. Hey, buddy, me and you can buy a little pond somewhere and I'll get on the other side of it and you will never hear from me again. But God created things, He made things, and He said, all this is great, all this is good, except one thing. Do you know what the one thing was that He said wasn't good, that He had made? Genesis 2:18. And the Lord said, It is not good. He already said, created the trees, that's good. Created the water, that's good. Created the fish, that's good. The birds are good. Created man, that's good. Created sun, that's good. Created night, that's good. But in Genesis 2:18, it is not good that man shall be alone. I'm going to make him someone who is comparable to him. People, though, are messy. And the world is becoming more and more polarized. Let me give you a definition for polarized. Polarized simply means to divide. The world is becoming more divided, or caused to divide into two sharply contrasting groups or sets of opinions. Everybody hashtag opinions, or beliefs. Okay, so let me say this one more time. The world is becoming more polarized. What's polarized? Polarized is the division or cause to divide into two sharply contrasting groups or sets of opinions or beliefs. As the world becomes more polarized, men and women become less sure. As the world becomes more polarized, men and women become less sure how to deal with people who do not agree with them. Have you found that to be true? As the world becomes more divided, you and I, men and women, become less sure of how to deal with people who have different opinions or different beliefs or different lifestyles, or you know, they're just different, or they disagree with us. You know, it's one thing for them to live their own beliefs, their own way, their own lifestyles, but when it infringes upon our lifestyles, we don't know how to interact with them. We don't know how to deal with them, and therefore our society is becoming more and more fractured. It's becoming more us and them. They, us, them, they. Our society is becoming more splintered. It's becoming more polarized. Now, let's talk about the fastest way to build community. Now, what we're talking about here is humanity. And humanity is fractured. Humanity is polarized. Humanity is divided. Humanity is defensive and angry, and it's just splitting in so many different directions. And what it comes down to you and I is we don't know how to deal with people who think differently, believe differently, act differently, or worse, disagree with us. So I'm going to talk about the fastest way to build community, and the fastest way is not the best way to build community. We need to build community. But the fastest way to do it is not the best way to do it. The fastest way to build community is around negativity. The fastest way to build community is through negativity. Do you know that you can bring people together and it not be good? Do you know that building community doesn't just come down to bringing people together? You can bring people together the fastest through negativity. Just show up at Walmart on Thanksgiving week and stand in one of the 2 of 45 lines that are open. And as the carts, back up down the aisle and through the produce, around the dairy and down past the meat and out the back door and in somebody else's neighborhood, and you're standing there, just say these words. Did you notice that turkeys were on sale at $4 off a pound? And you'll get no traction. Somebody might, give you the little nod or something, but you're not going to build a group around that. You're not going to build a group around that in a line of 2 of 45 checkouts on the day before Thanksgiving. Did y'all notice that turkeys are on sale $4 off? That's not going to build much of a community. That's going to get you a few head nods and a couple of these right here. But you just say, I can't believe that Walmart wasn't prepared for this. I can't believe they didn't know it was Thanksgiving. What's going on here? 55 people will say, that's right. Oh my goodness, why I hate coming here. Everybody in the line, it will go all the way to the checkout, folks talking to each other about how negative it is. I can't believe, what's the deal? Don't they know it's Thanksgiving? And everybody will, and Tasha, I know it's funny, hi, the people of Walmart, but it's people, period. It's community people, it's political people, it's church people, it's Christ followers and non-Christ followers, it's atheists and Baptists, it's Buddhists and Hindus, it's Islamic and purple people and orange people and plaid people. The fastest way to build community is not the best way to build community. We need to build community, but it should not be through negativity. Kelly Saldo, this is us. This is the story of us we're talking about today. Listen, you let a storm happen in a municipality. You let a hurricane come. You let a tornado come. You let an ice storm come. You let people's goods and services and the supply chain be messed up, be slowed, be stopped. You let people's utilities go out. Come here. The fastest way to build community is through negativity. You let that tornado come through, you let that ice storm come through, you let that hurricane come through, and you let their supply chain be messed up, you let their power go out, you let their services be unrendered, and where you couldn't get 4 people at City Hall on city cleanup day, and where you couldn't get 2 people to agree on the best way to fund and build a city park for children, and where you couldn't get traction with 3 citizens on how to provide health care for the senior and the disabled, and where you couldn't get 5 people to come together and talk about how to help their neighbor, you let something happen to their services and everybody shows up to City Hall for town meeting. And everybody who didn't have anything in common until this moment have now come together, standing on the courthouse lawn, standing out the door. Man, I know of some small towns that didn't have 2 people on their live feed watching the city, the mayor, and the board talk about anything. But now, after they lost their goods and services, man, there's 600 people on there watching, and if you watch the feed, the negativity is astounding, and everybody joins in, and everybody, man, you want to bring a community together? Let something negative happen. Because negativity brings people together. It's not the best way to bring people together, but it is certainly the fastest way to bring people together. Look, it's not just city halls. It's not just politicians. It's churches. You have a community church who wants to have a vacation Bible school, and you have to draft people to come volunteer because they don't have time. But you let a community church have a conspiracy, or something bad happens, or they're going to change the name of your grandpa's church from Billy Chapel to Willie Chapel, and Billy Chapel was your great-great uncle. The people who didn't have time to come help teach children about Jesus, or the people who didn't have time to show up to, support the community, man, they'll find time to bring folks up out the graveyard to sign a petition and march around and talk about how this is Billy Church and not Willie Church. The negativity is the fastest community builder, but it is not the best community builder. And I am concerned that we are coming together under negative pretenses and trying to build a nation. that we're coming together under negative pretenses and trying to build a church, that we're coming together under negative pretenses and trying to build a community, that we're coming together under negative pretenses and trying to form and build friendships. Listen, if all your friends do is talk about the negative and you agree, that is a toxic relationship. If all you and your friend group do is get together and gossip, that's a toxic relationship. If all your friends do is get together and talk about people who aren't in the group and who can't hear and who don't know what you're saying behind their back, that's a toxic friend group. When you begin to polarize yourself to people who simply agree with you about what you don't like, that is a toxic relationship. And we're building countries, communities, churches, relationships, and marriages and families on toxic relationships and hoping for good outcomes. That can't happen. While community can be built fastest through negativity, that is not the best way to build community. Choose. Come on. We've got to choose. It's not as fun. It's not as easy. You're going to feel like you're not a part of a lot of people. You're going to feel like you're not a part of a lot of groups. You may even feel like they feel. You may be angry. You may be upset. You may be offended. But when you tell your anger, your upsettedness, and your offendedness, I'm not going to respond in the way they're going to respond. I feel like them, but I'm not just going to talk. I'm not just going to form an insurrection. I'm not just going to be an angry mob. I'm not just going to show up when something bad happens. I'm going to show up Monday through Friday so that the bad thing won't happen in the first place, or so that I can make a tremendous positive impact in a little child's life, so that I can teach them about Jesus Christ, so that I can teach them about love, so that I can teach them about community. I want to show up before the bad things happen so the bad things don't happen. That's not easy. I had a Sunday school teacher who got up every morning, Monday through Friday, and studied their lessons so they could teach me every Sunday morning. Her name was Marie Catherine. Her son did the same thing. Why? Because he saw his mama do that, and he saw what an impact it made. So guess who became my Sunday school teacher as a teenager? Carl Catherine. Every day, Monday through Friday, he would invest and think, and then he would come to us and talk to us about pine cones and butterflies. And I have remembered every lesson he taught because he cared enough to show up before some negativity happened. I've seen churches raise people from the dead-gum dead to sign petitions to go against something that the church who's actually in the building wants to do in the community. Guys, it is something profound to watch negative people bond together like super glue and liquid nails, and they're bonded over something negative. Those relationships are toxic, they don't last, they don't change the world, and all they are is being like everybody else. And being like everybody else is not going to get you where you want to go, and it's not going to accomplish what you want to accomplish. Negativity never wins. It forms big groups of idiots, but it does not form groups of world changers. Jesus preached the gospel of love, humility, humanity, harmony, and many people chose to follow him. But many people, more than the many that followed him, chose to hate him. How do you hate someone that preaches love, humility, harmony, and humanity? How do you hate someone who teaches love your neighbor? How do you hate someone that raises people from the dead? How do you hate someone who lends assistance to the poor? How do you hate someone who feeds the hungry? How do you hate someone who gives sight to the blind? How do you hate someone? You know, there were a few who followed him, but there were many, many more who hated him. Jesus taught love and harmony, humility, humanity, and while a few followed him, many hated him. Here's why. Because to follow Jesus, you have to change your life. To hate Jesus, all you have to do is speak negatively. And lazy people are far more willing to speak negatively than change their lifestyle. Listen, you might form a mob or an insurrection or a community quickly over negativity, but you will not change the world because the world's already negative. Matthew chapter 12, verse 30. I've got to read you these verses, and I've got to pray you out of here. In Matthew chapter 12, verse 30, we're talking about a house divided cannot stand. And in verse 30, Jesus says, he who is not with me is against me. And he who does not gather with me scatters abroad. I want to say that again. Jesus is talking about a house divided cannot stand. We're talking about humanity. We're talking about our need for other people. We're talking about ways of building community. Negativity builds community quickly. Positivity builds community slowly, but better. He who is with me, he who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters abroad. And this is wedged in between a house divided cannot stand and the unpardonable sin. And then he goes straight into teaching that a tree is known by its fruit. Listen, if there are people that you get together with on a regular basis, and on a regular basis they talk about people who aren't there with you, that's a toxic relationship. I know they're doing it under the guise of this is a prayer request. I know they're doing it under the guise of we want what's right for someone or a community or something. They're doing it under the guise of concern. But if they were so concerned, they would take you and them and witnesses and go speak to that person they have a problem with. That's the way Scripture says community is built, and that is also the way that community is kept. Luke chapter 23. I want to show you how quickly a community will form over negativity. It took less than a week. And Pilate said, "You brought me this man as one who was misleading the people. After examining him before you, behold, I did not find this man guilty of any of the charges that you have placed against him." In other words, they all got together and they placed charges against someone behind their back. And then they brought them before the authority and said he's guilty. The authority said, "I don't find him guilty of any of the charges that you've brought against him in your little closets and in your little dark holes and in your little shadows and in your little gossip sessions. I don't find him guilty of anything." Neither did Herod. He's gone through two of our our court structures, and he's come out clean. He's not guilty of what you're saying he's guilty of. And Herod sent him back to us. Look, nothing deserving of death has been done by this man. Speaking of Jesus. I will therefore punish him and release him. Luke 23:20-25. Pilate addressed them once more, desiring to release Jesus. Who did he address? The insurrectionist. Who did he address? The mob. Who did he address? The negatively built community that two of them couldn't get together and agree about anything, but every one of them got together and agreed we ought to crucify Jesus. Pilate addressed them one more, desiring to release Jesus, but they kept shouting, "Crucify him!" A third time he said to them, "Why?" 3 times he's begging for them to think clearly. He's begging for them to consider what they're saying. What evil has this man done? I have found him guilty of nothing deserving of death. I will therefore punish and release him. But they were urgent. Oh, urgently concerned makes a difference, doesn't it? Oh, I'm urgently negative. Oh, I'm urgently concerned. Oh, I'm urgently a coward talking about people behind their back. I'm urgently gossiping. I'm urgently praying. But they urgently demanded with loud cries that he be crucified, and their voices prevailed. Loud negative voices of communities who have come together prevail so often against the truth. Loud political voices of negativity so often prevail against the truth. But it should not be that way with disciples. Disciples should not operate in the dark. Disciples should not operate under the guise of anonymity. Disciples shouldn't argue under the guise of we're going to stone somebody, or we're going to crucify somebody, or we're going to join. I can't believe how many followers of Christ are joining with the conservatives or the liberals and deciding we have nothing in common but this. I'm going to pick up a rock and throw it with you. So Pilate decided that their demand should be granted. He released the man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder, but he delivered Jesus over to the mob's will. The next time you participate in negative community, toxic relationships, I want you to realize the mob that you've sold your soul to. I want you to realize that you're a coward. I want you to realize that you're a gossip. I want you to realize that you have joined hands with people you don't agree with about 90% of things, but you found 10% that you do, so you're going to join that. Do you know why the media is so negative? The media knows that negativity draws a crowd. Do you know why politicians are so negative? Because politicians know that negativity draws a crowd. Do you know why? They pit themselves against one another, thus polarizing each other and thus fracturing our community, because that brings people together who won't agree about anything else. They will agree that the line at Walmart is too dead dumb long. And that is not who followers of Christ are. For the lazy people who hated Jesus, it was easy just to say hate speech. But for the people who followed him, had to change the way they lived. I want to encourage you that as we build community, and yes, I'm very passionate about this, that we choose the hard right over the easy wrong in every relationship. That we show up when there's a vacation Bible school opportunity, a Sunday school opportunity. We show up when there's a cleanup day opportunity. That we show up before the bad things happen and we join a mob with picket sticks saying this shouldn't be like this. I want you to be someone who changes the world and not just groups with people who are loud. Heavenly Father, help us, the church, not to be like the world, but to love the world like you do. In Jesus' name. And all God's people said, amen. I'm not sure what all I just said, but I do know this. I meant every word of it. And I do know this. This is not going to be easy. Very few people in the Walmart line is going to be excited that turkeys are on sale $4 off a pound, which is basically they're giving you money. But everyone will get excited about, what were they thinking? Why didn't they plan? That mob is the mob that crucified Jesus, not the ones that followed him. Bye, everybody. I hope I didn't scare anybody off. I love y'all. I'll see y'all later. I'm preaching to the choir, but we got to be careful because we can all easily be ensnared by the negativity.